said he's just a friend.
Color right here on the BigVitoBrand.com. And I am Virtue, the troll slayer of Twitter, being joined by the man himself, Big Vito LaGrasso, former WCW hardcore legend champion. What's up, man? What's going on?
How's everybody doing today? I hope everybody is having a great Memorial Day weekend. Virtue, thank you for sacrificing your holiday to come and do this. I'm sure there are a lot of people in the military who might be participating in this show. Thank you very much for your service. Want to mention our sponsor, Goomba Sauce. It's the sauce of champions. Everybody go to the Sauce Fella, and let's get down to business, Virtue. We have some great topics. Go, man.
Yeah, so AEW Double or Nothing took place last night. I did not watch it. I do know the results, thanks to NoDQ.com. I did see some of the highlights. You always like finding a little gem out there that I don't necessarily send you as one of the topics to talk about. And you said, hey, Virtue, did you see the crutch shot in the women's match and the ref blatantly in front of a referee? I believe it was involving Britt Baker. Do you want to elaborate on, it seemed like you were a little bit hot over what happened, and I know people want to hear about this, so what your take here. So do you want to elaborate on that?
It came on Duke of Wrestling's botches of AEW. Now, I give them a lot of credit because they try to, get their product over. But when it's blatant and it's there, guys, you're on the microphone, you're on the headsets, you got to think, why are you not disqualifying the person or disqualifying the person who did the crutch shot in front of the referee? The referee sold the crutch shot. He should have disqualified the person. Why? This is what's wrong with wrestling. There's no realism. If the referee had a set of balls, he would have DQ'd it because he had to. It makes the whole system weak. It kills me. And you know what? If there's going to be a crutch shot, a head shot, something, right? Just like when we took apart the brawl they had a couple weeks ago with the Pinnacle and the Inner Circle, and they did everything, and the open blading, and then the fall for Jericho, and the fake stage, and all that stuff. Guys, protect the business. This is why we have a shit business, because nobody protects it. I don't want to hear about kayfabe. I don't want to hear it's dead. It's the wrestling business. Wrestling 101 psychology. Protect the business.
Now, how about this? Based off the same match where Britt Baker became the AEW Women's Champion, beating Hikaru Shida. She's a heel, Britt Baker, and after the match you would have thought she was a babyface, and they're going to continue to say she's a heel. Tony Schiavone comes in the ring, hugs her. Like, they just want everybody to have a feel-good moment anymore. Like, I have a problem with that. Like, why does everybody have to be excited? Can't we have true heels and baby faces anymore? Why does everything have to be shades of gray and all the fans have to feel good because they deserve it? Does that piss you off a little bit, or is that just how it is now?
The night I beat Terry Funk for the hardcore title, nobody came in, hugged me. Terry Funk handed me the belt, shook my hand, and then when his back was turned, I cracked him one and left him laying in the ring. That is a heel.
Yes.
You don't wait for applause. If you're going to be a badass son of a bitch heel, you go out there and you destroy everything in your path. You don't want the claps. You stand there. You got your face up. You're like, all right, I am the man. I am the woman. I just conquered the world. When Tony Schiavone came in the ring to freaking come and do this, she should have cracked him with the belt and left him laying and walked out of that ring. That would have put her head and shoulders in Becky Lynch territory.
Flicked off the fans. I mean, yes, it's missing. They don't like doing that because they want the fans to be their friends.
Can't have it. Britt Baker, congratulations. You earned your championship. I'm very happy for you. I hope you have a long title reign. That's it.
All right. Now, stemming off of this, before Double or Nothing, there was an AEW announcer. I think it was one of their Hispanic announcers.
Yes.
Was fired for inappropriate remarks towards their Japanese. At the time, she was still the women's champion, Hikaru Shida. He made some derogatory Japanese type comments towards her and sounds.
Right.
And he's now gone. So I will give props to AEW for filtering the dirt out. Not much to really say other than that happened. No place like that in the business, right? I mean, even with heel commentators, you just can't really do stuff like that. What do you think?
Very good move by AEW to police their own. Tony Khan and the higher-ups took the correct measure to fix the product. There is no room in our business to insult talent. Do you want to know what gets me upset?
What's that?
Okay. Now, guys, listen and follow along. And, of course, all the people who listen to this at the WWE, I would like you to, relay this to the people, because I know you do watch the show and you watch what I have to say. This is constructive criticism. When announcers and people in the office have podcasts and they're allowed to do what they want, the one thing I hate more than anything is they don't boast their own talent and put their talent over on their podcasts. They want to feud with Russo. They want to talk about other stuff. But it's another platform to build your brand and build your talent for a company that you are a CEO in. Okay? AEW has very good announcers that try their best to put over their talent. You never knock your talent. You always praise them. You raise them. You make them a heel or babyface. What this gentleman did, making and mocking someone, you're right. You should have lost your job. Because nobody in the history of announcing, you're talking the greats. And who is the best announcer of all time? Get ready, WWE fans, because I'm going to tell you, the best announcer and brand builder was Vince McMahon. Why? Because he knew his talent, he knew his company, he knew what to promote, he knew how to talk positive about his talent. That's why in my book, he will be the all-time greatest ever announcer in wrestling history, because how do you think he got to WrestleMania 1? Let alone 20-something.
That's a great point, because everybody wants to throw out and with all due respect, we had a lot of great announcers, Gorilla Monsoon, Jim Ross, a lot of color commentators like Jesse Ventura, Jerry the King Lawler, and the list goes on, Bobby Heenan. But when you just said Vince McMahon is the greatest, like you were spot on with that, because he knew, and I know people give him a hard time for being in the ear of his announcers today, but I mean, he built $1 billion company by knowing, like you said, his roster, his talent, his storylines.
It's just like me. I sit here, okay, and I have all this knowledge and I have all this wrestling history in me. I am dying to share it on the major level, right? Mm-hmm. And I share it here, and the people listen, and I make sense in a lot of ways. And this is not berating anybody. This is teaching. And when I say things and I compliment people, it's the truth. It's not me sucking up for a job. This is wrestling. And I grew up, people forget, I grew up in the WWF. That's how I learned. I went to Carlos Colon and learned. I went to Jerry Lawler and learned. I went to Japan and learned. I went to Santo Domingo with Jack Veneno and learned. And these guys took the time to teach me there and let me pick their brain. I learned from Paul Heyman. I learned from Terry Taylor and John Laurinaitis and Tony Schiavone and Jim Ross and Bobby Heenan and Mean Gene and all the great wrestlers who took the time to teach me. And then I brought it to, TNA with Jeff Jarrett and Russo and Dutch Mantel and everybody else there. And then going to the WWE and then, working with Mike Rotundo, Ricky Steamboat, Arn Anderson, who had me in both companies. always said, I'm a good student. Vito, you're very coachable because I was willing to grasp the concept and learn. You just don't go from being a tough guy and being a street killer and king of the five boroughs and hardcore to wearing a dress unless you know how to work and know the basic 101 concept of wrestling. You just don't do it. It takes years of practice and knowledge.
Well
That's
said.
today's quote.
I agree. We're not done with AEW yet.
Go ahead.
Tony Khan, he continues to get his collection of his action figures in Dad's basement or living room. And he's growing a pretty big collection because now we have Mark Henry and Lio Rush recently signed with AEW. Now, I don't know the full details, but this was based off of Double or Nothing last night. We know they're going to get another hour show coming up. They got all that stuff that they put on YouTube. Can you have too much talent, or is Tony Khan just trying to put as many people? I mean, what is he doing with these people, I guess was what I'm saying. What's happening with Christian Cage? What's he doing with Paul White, the Big Show? We saw what's been done with Sting, with Miro. What's going on? Like, is this good? It's good for the boys. It's good for them to get work, okay? I'm 100% on board with that. But is this good for AEW, just throwing a bunch of wrestler and Tony Khan playing in his living room? What do you think on that?
I don't have a knock against anybody collecting action figures, just like somebody collecting baseballs or basketballs or jerseys or anything.
Okay.
I don't have a qualm about that. That's your hobby. That's your hobby. Hey, that's cool. But nobody has a big Vito action figure or a Vito in a dress action figure, which we do need one. Anyway, Mark Henry going to AEW. Now, I was under the impression the last time I spoke to Mark Henry at a signing that he was working for the WWE office.
Yep.
That's what I was under the assumption. Evidently, he's not working there no more. So if they found a spot for him, being he's experienced, he's a Hall of Famer, he can be an analyst, because I never really heard him on commentary, so I don't know, so I can't comment.
He does a podcast, everybody does.
Okay, but for him to be a coach, he definitely could add something. Now, with all the veteran presence there, being a coach, will they listen and will it brand into something good? Lio Rush, on the other hand, I just read today, this comes from Tony Khan, that he is on a handshake deal with Lio Rush so he can go work in Japan. Now, if I'm not mistaken, Lio Rush was at odds with the WWE over some stuff. So doing a handshake deal to see if you behave and can fit in, it's good. Taking your time, come, you know what I mean? Earn your spot. Earn.
Now, it's interesting that you said so he can do some work in Japan, because this brings us to a whole nother topic. So like I said, with Mark Henry and Lio Rush, you get paid for appearance, you get a contract from AEW, whatever. That's great for the workers. That's what you want to do. You want to get paid to be a professional wrestler when that's your passion, your hobby, your life. Tony Khan, again, comes across as just a eccentric owner. Maybe we're all getting worked, but I feel like he can be a little more professional. But guess what? The rumor is that WWE might be getting an exclusive deal to work with New Japan, which I believe it when I see it, right? WWE has done this in the past, kind of with ECW, I guess kind of sort of back in the 90s. You know about that. They bought WCW, but they really they're always their own thing. So I want to know your take on this, because if this is true, if Nick Kahn, one of the presidents at WWE, businessman, guru, that's helping Vince McMahon getting all these big deals, if he lands this, we all thought AEW was that company that would work with New Japan and for all their fans. You know how that goes. That will be an interesting twist, and I think it would be hilarious if Tony Khan got upset. He's already cutting promos about it, Vito. What's your take on that? Is this a possibility for WWE and New Japan? I would have never fathomed that.
Are the two Khans related?
No, they're spelled differently, but they are not. They are not related. This is a coincidence, but
All right,
spelled
thank you.
the H and A are switched in their last names.
All right, thank you for clearing that up. I didn't
Yeah.
know. You know. All right. Now, with the pandemic subsiding, could there be a talent swap with the WWE in Japan? Possibly, because there is more fan base in Japan, and the fans do go to more Japanese shows. If they had a little WWE flavor, do I believe there could be a business agreement? Yes. Will they push the Japanese wrestlers here? Will it be another? What was the Hyantai with
Kai
Funaki? Yeah, that's
with
it.
Taka Michinoku and yeah.
Will it be another one of those, or will it be a Great Muta led, entourage? Yeah. Will it be some of the famous Japanese guys coming here? It's kind of a hard thing because really in America, for WWE fans, unless you're a diehard wrestling fan, you're really not going to know who these wrestlers are. Sending our talent, the WWE talent, to Japan, it's worldwide. So it could benefit the WWE, give them some extra house shows, give them an extra payday. Like I said earlier, once they go back on the road, they're not going to pull the same money on house shows. I said this, and I believe it.
I think it's a fascinating possibility here because nobody, like I said before, you've got Ring of Honor used to have kind of some reworking relationship with New Japan. You just thought by default it would be AEW. And again, there's nothing official out there, but if this does happen and WWE gets this exclusive deal, this is another huge move for this Nick Khan working for Vince McMahon. I mean, the Peacock deal, just these huge deals that WWE is getting for their past library and their brand globally. This is another huge win, and it's going to upset some of those diehard fans. So, Vito, I am interested to see where this goes.
But on a business note, now, guys, I know, like I said, this is not a knock against the WWE, but on a business note, on a global view, it is good for the WWE to branch out in these deals. Yes. But does it benefit the wrestlers in the company as far as pay scale? No.
That's a good point because WWE is all about making money as a corporation. And, hey, here's a little bit for you, independent contractor.
Now, they just had another budget cut, right? And they were already up above their margin on profit. So they just cut some more budget. So that means their profit is going to go higher.
Yep.
How much can you have on profit, and how much could you cut until your company is bare minimum? Now, that's Daniel Bryan has not surfaced anywhere.
Not yet.
Nobody knows if he's retired. Nobody knows if he's showing up. Nobody knows if he's got a new deal. Okay? I have no idea where my phone is, but leave it.
But that's Enzo's music. I like that.
Yeah. Just for everybody to know, this was Noelle's old phone, and my phone took a dump, so I needed a phone. It's very small, so she was an Enzo fan, and I gave the blessing, let's keep her ringtone, so it's cool. And
Enzo's calling Vito.
Yeah, that's good. So, guys, on a note, with what goes on, it's good for the WWE as a corporation, but we still haven't seen it translate into stock market, a 401k, paid insurance. That's my take.
Yeah, it's definitely all for WWE's Vince McMahon's earnings and all the WWE's earnings, that's for sure. But, they're definitely looking like a huge billion-dollar corporation. And AEW, not so much. Although, Tony Khan's making some money back, but he's spending a lot of it too. But it's time for the main event, Vito. And this,
go ahead.
I've been dying for your input on this, okay? Best wrestler in the world in 2021. It's subjective. You're a wrestler, so that's why I'm asking you this, because I want to hear what it takes to be the best wrestler. There's a lot of things: work, how you make your opponents look, safety, drawing ability, promo, all of it. So we've had Jim Ross recently say, basically for 2021, he picked Randy Orton. Got a little bit of heat over that because Randy Orton's in the WWE. Chris Jericho came back and said, no, it's Kenny Omega, because that's their world champion in AEW, so they're pushing for that. I think last night at Double or Nothing, Jim Ross kind of reverted back to that, like stepped back, but he meant Randy Orton. I know it, you know it. That's who he really felt. And then we got Roman Reigns really killing it, right? Over on, SmackDown, yes, it's on Fox, network TV, is still the best viewed wrestling show during this time of lack of ratings. Who is your, subjectively, best wrestler in the world, and how do you pick that? Maybe you don't even have one, but I have to hear it from you.
Okay, 2021. Let's go off of 2020.
We can include women too. I'm not being sexist here.
No, that's all right.
Okay. Yeah.
So you have Randy Orton, Roman Reigns, Kenny Omega. You have John Moxley, who you got to include in that. Okay, I'm surprised people didn't put him in there. As far as the women go, it's kind of hard, but
some people were telling me with Becky being out, they were telling me Charlotte, Sasha Banks, the usual names.
I would say for women this past year, Sasha Banks was the best wrestler of the year.
That's fair. Yeah.
For the men, who moved the needle and who was in more relevant storylines by themselves and moved the needle by themselves as a solo. Plus, he's believable, he's accountable, he's safe. Randy Orton is my pick. Roman Reigns has had a great heel run, but he's got the Usos and Paul Heyman. Kenny Omega has Don Callis, and he's got his boys, and he's got this, and he has to go to another promotion. Randy Orton is doing this all by himself, and he's taking care and making things happen. That's why him as a solo is the wrestler of the year.
Yeah, because if you go back the past year, he had that feud against Edge. He ended up winning the WWE title briefly from Drew McIntyre. Then he did have that lengthy program with The Fiend, which, that's just bad creative with WWE, the way that played out. But Orton endured all of that, and he was still, at the end of the day, at the end of all of this, he's still Randy Orton. He's still believable, credible, Viper,
now,
legend killer.
Two guys, two guys who get a mention in this, and they do earn the co-wrestlers of the year.
Okay.
The Miz and John Moxley.
The Miz and John Moxley. I like the Randy Orton thing. I even said this over on No DQ. I think he was the wrestler of the pandemic during the height of the pandemic.
Right.
Roman came back, finally turned heel. I get what you're saying with the whole, he wasn't on his own. He had others around him to make it easier, where Orton was pretty much on his own the whole time. I grouped Roman and Orton as 1A and 1B. So I choose Roman as the best. I respect you and JR know a hell of a lot more than I do about this, picking Orton. But I'm just going to say Roman 1A, Orton 1B. Shit, before Roman came back, it was clearly Orton, hands down, no question.
But guys who are listening to this, and this is why, one of the reasons I love wrestling and I love different opinions, when you give constructive criticism or constructive, verses and what you think in your opinion, that's what makes wrestling fun, because you're telling me your view, I'm telling you my view, I have experience, you're looking at it from the outside, I'm on the inside, you're listening to my voice, I hear what you're saying, and you know what, I think it's great. If you think that Roman Reigns is the wrestler of the year, hey, he has had a great year. but he's had help.
Yeah.
If he was a solo like he was, he would not be nowhere near this conversation.
Now, just kind of off the cuff, because Kenny Omega was thrown out there, and we know Dave Meltzer's of the world, PWI, they that's their golden boy. Where would you put him? I mean, just being honest, being at number top 5, 10, like
all right,
where Big Vito put
Kenny Omega, okay? He has waited his whole career to be in this spot, okay? And this is constructive criticism. This is not a knock against AEW or Kenny Omega. This is like looking at his career as a whole. My perception. When you work your ass off and you put out matches and you go to Japan and you're kicking the shit out of everything and you go and do your thing and you are the most over guy in Japan. Yep. You finally get a job here in the States, which you haven't been able to attain. You come here. Your Japanese wrestling doesn't translate into American wrestling. It's not TV savvy. But your wrestling ability is good. You're selling and doing that stuff. It just doesn't jive. You know what I mean? It's not what you want. It's not what you want to see because you are programmed for Japanese wrestling. When you get to that pinnacle of the top and you attain that championship, it should have been yours shine time, not for the hanger-oners or people to come in and ride your coattails. It was Kenny Omega's day. There should have been nobody around you. When you did your first interview, I got on you because I was so mad because you worked so hard. And you went in there and you slouched. You wore a t-shirt. You were with Don Callis. No disrespect to Don Callis. But you should have had your best Armani suit. You should have had your hair done. You should have came out with your hair back in a ponytail. Let us see your face. Let us see the championship belt. And you want to know something? I would have been so proud to say, now you came full circle and you look like a champ. Instead, you buried yourself with all these guys who soaked in your hard work and your training and you're killing yourselves, and they rode your coattails. This is no disrespect to nobody who I'm talking about. This is Kenny Omega. And then somebody made reference to me and said, hey, Vito, you know Kenny Omega's only 5'8". I know that. You know, Shawn Michaels is only 5'9". But when Shawn Michaels went and did his solo, he had the charisma. He had Kevin Nash to help him. He dropped Kevin Nash. He had Marty Jannetty, dropped Marty Jannetty. And then when his time was to shine, he shined. And then he teamed up with Triple H.
Yep. So
Kenny Omega never had that time to shine for the American fan. And he teamed up with these guys before he had that bravado, before he was the man. How can you compare him to anybody? That's my knock on his championship run. It's not taking away, not saying he doesn't deserve it. But if I had to do it for him, he would have shined solo. I would have said, listen, put a suit on. Let's change your hair.
You would have given him the Ric Flair treatment, right?
But that's what he needed. He doesn't have that charisma.
I didn't hear anybody say that, but you did, and I agree with that.
That's what was missing. That's why you can't put him as the first guy. And I hope that the people at AEW and the people at WWE and Ring of Honor and All Japan, they listen to my constructive criticism and the way I'm handling myself on these podcasts because I'm dead on. And this is experience and knowledge, and this is not making a joke, and this is not disrespecting nobody. I've had my differences with certain people, but when it comes time for Vito LaGrasso to put his stamp of approval, Vince McMahon is the greatest announcer of all time. Hands down.
Oh, you were on fire tonight, Vito, with this show. We've had a pretty interactive chat. Some Punk was in there. Chris was in there. They were calling me a jabroni, and you were on fire with everything you were saying. What's on Vito's mind this week? You want to do any shout outs to the people in the chat? We got
Now,
Coach Kev. A lot of people in the chat tonight.
listen, I just want to say thank you for coming aboard and being in the chat. I would just like to say thank you to our servicemen because you definitely deserve some thanks. Being a fellow serviceman, thank you very much. And I appreciate where I live in the United States of America, whether there's good times and bad times. There's no place like home. Thank you very much. Goomba Sauce, the Sauce of Champions, at Sauce Fella on Twitter. Noelle Harlow, behind the scenes, doing her job. Virtue, being my co-host. And you know what? We don't get any awards and we don't put any accolades on anybody. But over here at the Big Vito brand, everybody works hard. And I would just like to say thank you to the staff and to Bin Hameen and Hameen Media and to Vince Russo and the Realm Network. And congratulations to Vince on buying the Realm Network so it can make it a better place for everybody and everybody can have a little peace. That's all I have to say. Virtue, close the day.
All right, so everybody, you can follow Vito over on Twitter at the Big Vito Brand. He also has a Patreon, which is patreon.com/the Big Vito Brand, where we do MOB, Men of Business, every week. You can follow me if you want, troll with me. You know how that goes on Twitter at NoDQ_Virtue. But for the man himself, Big Vito LaGrasso, this has been Getting Color on the BigVitoBrand.com. I'm just a little jabroni Virtue. I love being here with Vito. Great discussion. And you know what? We'll be back again next time. Thanks, everybody, for listening and watching. Have a great Memorial Day and rest of your week.
Check out Big Vito and Virtue live with Getting Color every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, only on twitch.tv/the Big Vito Brand.
Yeah. I feel like Big Vito. Yeah, I feel like Big Vito. Yeah, feel like Big Vito. Yeah. I said, I'm up next like I got the call from Vito. We not some average Joes, stay escaping from Leos. So call me Big Vito, I got a kick like a shotty. And like Ciroc, you're taking hard shots to the body. They had you in a dress, but you were still styling. And if they talk crap, hit them with the code of silence. Told these haters get off me, your style stays sloppy. Tricking out the rides, I got an iced out jalopy. Cut you off no matter how thin, like salami. So many shots headed towards me, it gotta be a Tommy. Speaking of mafia things, I call it Donnie. So you about to go to sleep, call me Hideo with Tommy. With the GTS, I bet you haven't seen me yet, you seeing stars. I smoked you like a Vito cigar. You're not messing with the squad, especially on the pod. It's no hold bars like this, no DQ.com.